What's up, guys? Baker here. Today I have a cool 3D galaxy kind of thingy, and I used it in my community montage edits. And I got the idea from a guy named VinhSon Nguyen. I've been subbed to him for quite a while. He makes some really cool motion graphics and other cool editing tutorials and stuff for After Effects. Lots of cool real-life applications and stuff. So go ahead and check him out. Got permission from him to share kind of what we did. Yeah, this is just a little preview of what it looks like. You can float around and it's completely 3D. Pretty cool stuff. So let's get straight into it. Make a new comp. I usually do 1080p to make it look really HD when you upload it to YouTube or wherever. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to do 720. Okay. Let's start by making a null object right in the middle. Okay, let's make it 3D. And let's make a light and point light. Okay. Rename this to emitter. Okay. And the position of the null, go ahead and copy this and paste it on the position of the emitter so that they're at the same spot. And let's change 640 to plus 300 pixels, so 940. Duplicate the emitter and subtract 300, so minus 600 on the left side. So they are equidistant. Okay, parent both of these emitters to the null object. And perfect. Alright, let's make a new solid. Call this main particles. You're going to need trapcode particulate. So go ahead and download that plugin if you haven't already. Emitter, and let's change it from a point to lights. So it'll emit from these two emitters we made. So that's pretty cool. What we're going to do, let me just turn on the velocity real quick, down to like, let's say 5. We're going to keyframe the null object so it spins around. So we'll start at the beginning, and we're going to keyframe the scale and rotation, Z rotation in this case, both of those. Let's zoom in, move forward about, let's say 2 seconds, and we can rotate this, so pretty cool. And then we'll scale it down and just continue rotating it. We get a cool spiral. Real quick, go back to main particles and velocity from motion, turn that down to 0. There we go. So it's just a simple spiral. And I'm going to make the scale all the way down to 0, and then you can just play with the rotation until you get something you like. Probably something about there. Okay. If you notice, as we go forward, things die off, and if there's velocity, they'll keep moving. So what we want to do is freeze everything. So go back to 2 seconds. Let's go to our main particles. Go down to physics. Close this out. Close this. The physics time factor. Keyframe it at 1. Go forward 1 frame. Keyframe it at 0. And that'll freeze all the particles so we can fly around and stuff. So we can also make a new camera real quick. 35mm is fine. And we can just kind of rotate to see what we're working with. Okay, pretty cool, but kind of boring. So let's do some cool stuff. First, let me zoom in here. Okay, cool. Let's go to the emitter, and let's turn up the particles per second to like 1,000. Okay. Velocity, so that'll spread the particles a little bit. So 5 to 10 is usually pretty good. And you can also change the emitter size to spread it out as well. So up to you. I'm going to keep these around 50. Okay, and the velocity back down to 5. So at any time we can always adjust these later, but sticking with this for now. Let's go to particle settings, and the life is 3 seconds. That's fine because we freeze it at 2 seconds. The feathering, I want to turn that down a little bit to 25. And the size is way too big, so maybe 2. Okay, so a little better. Pretty nice. Now I kind of want to spread these out a little bit more, so maybe emitter size 100 100, 100. Okay, that's cool. Size, opacity. Let's turn up the randomness a little bit to maybe 50. So there's diversity between these little stars. Size randomness, you can turn it up a little bit, 25. Not too much, maybe 20. Yeah, 25. Okay. Set the color. We can set this over life. Let's make our life 2 seconds exactly. So what we can do is the color over life, if we reset this to like a simple gradient, we can choose colors for the outside and the inside. So if I double click on the black, I can make a nice like blue kind of color out there. It's a little too saturated, but that's okay. And maybe a brighter blue, since galaxies should be brighter in the middle. Let's also change the transfer mode to add or screen, whatever. Let me desaturate this a little bit. Okay, so not bad. Let's change the color randomness up a little bit, because some stars are different colors than others. So if you crank this up, you can see we get some cool rainbow colors, but maybe just 25 to get a little bit more diversity again. That's pretty much it for that, these main particles. What I'm going to do next is duplicate the main particles and call this tiny particles. And all I'm going to change is the particle size down to 1, and then increase the emitter size to something larger, like 250, 250, 250. So if you look closely, you can see some really tiny particles kind of spreading out more, and gives it a lot more volumetric look. Next, we're going to give it even more volume by duplicating the tiny particles and call this, I don't know, fluffy particles. And we're going to go to the particle type, change it to cloudlet. Now let's solo this real quick. Let's turn down the particles per second down to like 100, and then boost up the size. So we have some really puffy cloud looking things, but they're way too bright. So turn the opacity down to like 2. So that's pretty cool. Maybe a little bit more particles, maybe 150. And let's turn up the size a little bit more. So nice big puffiness, and a little bit too bright again, so opacity down more. Okay, and opacity randomness 100%. Okay, a little bit too bright again, so maybe 0.5 for opacity. No, 0.75. Alright, so unsolo this. You can kind of see what this looks like. Back up to 1. Okay. Is this still an add? Okay. Set all these layers, by the way, all these particle layers, to either add or screen. Okay. Add. Okay, a little bit brighter. Okay. So we got some puffiness and volumetric stuff. So it looks pretty good. Next, what I want to do is get some trap code shine on the main particles. So we'll go to main particles. First, let's just add a glow to it, and let's solo this and zoom back in. And let's just increase the radius a little bit, and glow threshold, turn that down so everything pretty much gets glowed. And let's choose our colors too. Let's go to AB colors. Choose again a nice kind of blue or whatever theme you want to go for. Maybe you want a orange nebula or something. So there's our glow. Let's add Trapcode Shine, another third-party plugin, and we get these cool rays. Let's set this to add. But if I want my camera to move around, the rays, need to be pointing from the same direction. Otherwise, it doesn't really look right. So I have a tutorial called linking 2D values from 3D values. So what we're going to do is, this source point is only 2D. So I'm going to make a null object, make it Oops, put that out. Make it 3D and rename this to shine source. So I want to link the position of this null object to the shine source point. So I have an expression in here. I'll also post this in the description as well. Just copy this line. And on the shine source point, alt click on that, paste your expression. Now the source layer name needs to be the layer name that we want to link it to, and we called it shine source. So just type shine source, exactly how it looks, capitals and everything. Let go. And we notice if I move the shine null object, it moves where all the rays are coming from. So I want to push it back in Z space, kind of far, maybe 500 pixels. Now if I rotate the camera, it'll always shine outwards, like it's coming from the middle. So that's pretty cool. I also want to change the colors to match our theme here as well. So I can change this to maybe spirit, so a nice blue shine. So unsolo all these again. Let's take a look what we got. So that's pretty cool, shine coming out. Let's also add a flare in the middle. So another new solid. Let's call this flare. We're going to use Video Copilot's optical flares, options, and just pick any flare that you want. I'm just going to pick, I think I use this guy. Okay, so any flare. We're going to put it right in the center of where that normal, the first null object was, which was 640, 360. So 640, 360, and we can make this 3D if you want, but it shouldn't matter since it's right in the middle. Transfer mode, of course, set to screen, and it might be a little too bright, so maybe just scale it down 75% or something. So, oops. That's what we got so far. I want to add one more thing, which was kind of interesting to me. Go ahead and pick your favorite, what are these called? Nebulas or something? Let's pre-compose this picture. Make sure it's the same color as your theme that you're going for. If not, just apply a color correction, hue and saturation, and just rotate the hue until you get, you know, like an orange or pink, yellow, nebula, whatever you want. There's some words and text here, so I'm just going to scale this up until they aren't showing anymore. So that looks good right there. And I need to make some random feathering around the edge so it blends in to the picture in our nebula. So I'm just going to do some random zigzaggy, phone call. I'll call you back in a second. Just going to do some zigzaggy things. Boop. Alright, MM. And feather your mask quite a bit. So that looks pretty good right there. Alright, let's go back. Let's call this custom nebula real quick. Alright, so back at our main comp, this one, bring out your custom nebula. Okay, so just floating here. Let's make this 3D as well. And push AA and accept the lights to off. There we go. Let's also scale this down a little bit. I need to make another null object as a controller, so name this controller. And we're going to search up a slider control. First one's going to be position, so rename this to position. Duplicate. Second one will be rotation. Third one will be scale. Fourth one will be opacity. So let's link these custom nebula to the controller. So let's push E on the controller to bring up all these sliders so we can see them. And push P for position, Alt click, and we're going to go wiggle, parentheses, 0, comma, position. So with a wiggle with 0, what that does is it has 0 speed. So it's just going to basically take a random position and stay there. We're going to do that with rotation as well. we're gonna use orientation. So Alt click, wiggle 0, comma, pick whip to rotation, parentheses. Opacity, T, Alt click, and we're just going to link it straight to the opacity. And then last one is going to be scale. Now scale has 3 parameters, so what we need to do is Alt click and do temp equals parentheses scale, and then semicolon. Now we want this again to be 3 parameters, so we need to do bracket, temp, comma, temp, comma, temp. Bracket. So what this does is temp is just whatever the slider is, and then our scale is going to be temp, temp, temp. So these are all going to be equal. So if I set my scale to 50, these will all be 50s. Okay, opacity, let's turn that back up a little bit so we can see our layer. Now let's get to the cool stuff. Here's what we're going to do. Let's set our custom nebula transfer mode to screen, so it's kind of see-through, and just duplicate this about 10 times. Alright, now controller, bump up the position, and our thing spreads out like crazy. That's pretty cool. Let's scale it down real quick, so maybe 25 for the scale, and just mess with the rotation, so I get a whole bunch of random craziness, position, spreading out stuff. So if I rotate, you can see all these nebulas floating around, give it more kind of volumetric look and stuff. So it might be a little too crazy. So opacity can be brought down, 50. If they're too far spread out, just bring down the position, scale and all that stuff, controlled by these sliders, and you can just keep on duplicating these. The more the merrier. That's pretty close to being it. I want to add one more thing. I want to add some background stars. So we're going to go new solid, call this BG stars, and again trap code particular. Okay, so what we're going to do, let me solo this, is we just have stars or particles coming out in the beginning, right? I want these to shoot out all the way out into space and then freeze. So let's do this. So BG stars emitter, velocity, add 2 zeros to this. So what is that? 100, 10,000? 10,000 for velocity. So they shoot out really fast. Let's also change the particles per second to 10,000. So we get a lot of particles. And then let's keyframe the particles per second from the beginning of 10,000. Let's go forward 1 second this time, down to 0, so they stop emitting. So they shoot out, stops emitting, and there's particles in the background. And then again at 2 seconds, actually, let's go to 1 second. Nope, 2 seconds, yeah. At 2 seconds, we'll go back down to physics, and the time factor from 1, keyframe, 0, so it freezes everything. Now we can't see any stars, so we need to go to particle settings and bump up the size. So there we go. Where's my size? Probably like 15. Okay, so we got our stars frozen. Just unsolo this, and we got our nebula, and if we rotate the camera, the stars in the background will rotate as well. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it. I don't think I'm forgetting anything else. If you want to put 3D text in here, some people ask, oh, how do I motion track 3D text and stuff in here? Well, since we have a real 3D camera, all we have to do is, type some stuff like 3D galaxy, make that layer 3D, AA. Let's turn off accept lights, and I don't know, push this off and rotate and stuff. Oops, delete this text, and it's already in our scene in 3D, so you don't need to motion track anything. But that's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to check out, what's his name, VinhSon Nguyen. He's a pretty cool guy. he made a nice orange nebula. Pretty cool stuff. So anyways, that is it. 3D nebula stuff. And yeah. Oh, and again, you can change any of the settings you want. So back to that original null object. Let's say I wanted more swirls, or I want it bigger. Go to the keyframes and just, scale up the starting point. We have a bigger nebula. Or we can adjust the rotation here to something higher. We get more swirls. So up to you. Pretty cool stuff. Be sure to leave a like, favorites, comments, Facebook and Twitter if you have any questions. That is pretty much it. I don't want to keep talking too much, but hope you enjoyed. Alright, peace.